What's up, hush puppies? So today we're talking about why is Geoffrey Verity Schofield so weak? This video is in response to Steve Shaw. How freaking dare you? I'm not good at this whole being offended thing, but I do think this is a good opportunity to come clean about my rampant abuse of anabolic training volumes.
Is that a gram? New PR. What do you think?
Whoa, very nice. Look at that.
That's bone.
But first, let's start with specificity. So powerlifting, it's a skill. Squat, bench, deadlift, you want to optimize your technique to lift the most possible amount of weight one time for a 1 rep max. So in bench press, this might mean optimizing your technique a lot. I don't do that. Squat, same thing. Maybe you take a wider stance, go down to barely parallel. I don't do that either. On deadlift, you might, again, try to optimize your technique, use a special bar, all kinds of stuff. I don't do that either. I usually deadlift from a deficit, actually. For example, on bench press, there's a few different techniques people use to lift more weight. They might take a huge arch, wider grip, minimize the range of motion. That is not going to be what is suitable for my goals. Getting some big man titties. Or people will dive bomb the eccentric, tuck the bar into them, use leg drive, and launch it up, and then try to lock it out. Again, for the purposes of getting a bigger chest, this is not going to be optimal. For the deadlift, you will often see, at least on social media, using straps, bumper plates, super whippy bar, sumo style, and yeah, you can lift a lot more weight than you might with some other style of lifting. I will usually use a deficit in order to increase the difficulty of the exercise. I might use a snatch grip. I might use a pause off the ground. I'll do something to make it harder. For squats, you'll see people often take a wider stance and just sit back and down. I will often take a narrower stance and push the knees forward in order to get more quad stimulation out of less weight. Again, I'm just using squat, bench, and deadlift as a tool to get jacked.
It's nothing. Look at this. That is really nice.
605 pounds, 5 easy reps.
What do you think? Nice. Jesus. That is really super. How did a nitwit like you get so tasteful? I can't believe that
The internet
prefers
Steve Shaw's PR
to mine.
Another factor is reps. So I am naturally just better at higher reps. It doesn't mean I don't do lower reps. I think this is some misconception that some people have. I absolutely have done singles, doubles, triples, sets of 4, sets of 5, lots of that kind of stuff. I'm just better at reps. I always have been, and I probably always will be. So for example, my best 1 rep max in the deadlift, 205 kilos. But I've also done 180 kilos for 10 reps. So almost 90% for 10 reps. I've done 160 kilos for 20 reps. I've even done German volume training with 150 kilos. And then I did 3 sets of 20 afterwards with 120 kilos. I don't know why. I really don't know why. There's no logic there, and I would not advise this, but I did it. Same thing with deficit deadlifts. I've done 13 reps with 150 kilos, 330 or so pounds. And that is a lot better than you would think based on my 205 kilo sumo hyper optimized, but not really trained for 1 rep max. And so this is just making the range of motion greater. You're giving yourself worse leverages. You're forcing yourself to pull through a greater range of motion. You're putting your hips and your back in a worse position. You're further away from the bar, etc. And so this is going to be overall better for muscle growth. And if you're lifting weights and you just want to get jacked and you don't care about strength, I would say a 1 rep max or even a 2 or 3 rep max, it's not really providing a lot of dividends. You can do it if you want to take a hybrid approach, power building, whatever, that's fine, but it's certainly not necessary. And I would say something you can do for multiple sets of 8 to 12 reps is going to correlate much more strongly with your level of jackedness. Another factor is fatigue management and programming. I don't manage fatigue. I fucking revel in that shit. I'm joking. So when it comes to training for strength, fatigue management is super important. This is why powerlifters tend to use RPE, because keeping a rep or two in the tank, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 reps in the tank, makes a lot of sense. If you see how some of the top powerlifters train, a lot of them keep a lot of reps in the tank basically all the time. That's not me, okay? I push very, very hard, excessively hard, some might say, a lot of the time. And this is just going to be naturally better for hypertrophy compared to strength. If you go into the gym and you can't perform and you're training for strength, not a good thing. Progression and the intensity and the weight on the bar and the loading, that is really, really important. But for hypertrophy, having a bad workout or going into the gym and being a little bit fatigued is really not the end of the world. You can absolutely still gain muscle, even if you're not going up in weight from one workout to the next workout. Long term, yeah, you absolutely should be gaining strength and getting better, but workout to workout, not 100% necessary. So strength training in general will often be more pre-planned. So you might have a very phasic, periodized approach. You have a competition on this day, so 10 weeks out you're doing 10s, and then 8 weeks out you're doing 8s, and then you just linear periodization your way to getting a big 1 rep max on a specific day that you are optimizing for. I don't do that. I don't periodize my plan at all. It's basically just a base phase. So it's not just base, transition, peaking. It's just base, okay? My entire program is just a never-ending base phase, and that is obviously naturally going to be better for hypertrophy compared to strength.
But wait, you ain't seen nothing yet.
835, block pull, reverse bands.
Impressive. Very nice.
I tend to do a lot of different variations. So when I'm doing hinges, it's not just one competition-focused hinge. I do a wide variety. I do good mornings, I do back extensions, I do, again, deficit pulls, snatch grip pulls, hamstring curls. When I'm doing squats, again, not just like low bar, hyper optimized. I'm doing front squats, I'm doing leg presses, I'm doing leg extensions, God forbid. For pushes, again, it's not just that 1 rep max competition style of training or even 4 reps in a competition style, but I'm doing incline dumbbell, I'm doing machines, I'm doing cables, I'm working that chest from a wide variety of angles. I'm also doing other angles, I'm doing overhead press, I'm doing vertical pulls, I'm doing lots of rows, I'm doing isolation work for the arms, and I would say that is my standout body part. If you gave me like mediocre arms, my physique would look totally different and way worse. So when it comes to powerlifting, the major muscle groups involved, obviously it's pretty much full body, but if you look at most top powerlifters, where are they big? I would say quads, hams, glutes, chest, maybe adductors too. Those are going to be the big ones, and then maybe you could argue for back as well. And those are basically all areas that I'm not super developed in. I would say my best muscle groups are my arms, traps, and then maybe rear delts. In addition to training to failure a lot, or near failure, or past failure in a lot of cases, I've also done very, very high training volumes. I've been, 40, 50 sets per week for chest for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. I've done 20 sets of hinges per week repeatedly. And I would say this is not the most efficient way to go about things. It's almost unnecessarily difficult, and most people would be better focused on progressive overload and just focusing on more moderate strength training. It would be very easy for me to go the marketing route, saying like, oh yeah, look, this is how you get big without getting strong. But that would definitely be disingenuous, because the other option is not that great. Like, looking back at my training log, the workouts that I post now where people are like, oh my god, you did 25 or 30 sets in a session, that is a lot lower than it used to be. It used to be like 40, 50, 60, upwards of 70 sets, most to failure per session. And then when I cut back, I started growing better. So you can absolutely do too much. And even what I'm doing now, it's probably too much for optimal strength development. If I really wanted to optimize for strength, I would do fewer sets, keeping more reps in reserve. And it would be very easy for me to use fake plates or to claim that I could bench press 3 plates or whatever. You know, if I claimed a 3-plate bench press, I think most people would believe me, right?
Because in this video, I'm going to be going over many other instances where Geoff uses these very same mysterious plates.
I also do have some very visible muscle imbalances in the shoulders, in the hips, in the back, and these are likely from my time as a runner. I've ran upwards of 20,000 miles, and when you run on the road, it's not a flat road, it's cambered. And when you run on the track, you're always going the same way because you compete that way, and therefore all those left-hand turns, they do add up to hip imbalances, which can cause back imbalances and shoulder imbalances as well. And so I know this sounds like an excuse, and I guess it is in some way. I can barely unrack 4 plates in the squat. And it's not like, oh, it feels heavy. Of course it fucking feels heavy. It's 400 pounds. But it was actually difficult because I could feel everything shifting around and not in a good way. And even just holding, 4 plates in the squat for 10 seconds was, and not even squatting it, just standing there was shockingly difficult.
Let's see Paul Allen's PR. Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my God.
And if I try to brace, it's like one side braces more than the other. My hips are pretty clearly misaligned, like maybe a twisted sacrum or something. But it's something that I've always had. It wasn't something like that showed up the past year or two. This has been, 10 or 15 years in the making. So my lack of strength, it used to be something that I was like kind of sensitive about. I don't really care anymore, right? Like, I'm happy with my numbers, and maybe I'll be bitten by the powerlifting bug at a certain point. Usually guys who are stronger than me, if I have the discussion about like my training history and the numbers that I put up on other lifts, they're usually way more optimistic than I am about what I might hit in the future if I focused on powerlifting. So, maybe it's something that I will take a swing at in the future, but as of right now, it's less of a focus. And so strength doesn't necessarily equal size. It's going to be correlated with size, but realize that hypertrophy is a very flexible adaptation. It's a very forgiving goal. So you can do it with high reps, low reps, machines, free weights, frequency is all over the place as well. And I'll have a video on this at some point, but there are many ways to get to the goal of hypertrophy. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions on my training philosophies, methodologies, history, personal best, anything like that. As always, I am an open book. You can also grab a copy of my actual book, which has a lot of that information as well, which can help you a lot on your fitness journey. Thank you so much for the support, and I will see you in the next video. Peace!